Listen up here. The restaurant industry is grueling and unpredictable, just like this show, from the front of the house to the back of the house and all in between. We will turn up the heat, you turn up the volume. I'm Chef Antonio Caruana. Welcome to the Tell All Podcast, The Burnt Hands Perspective.
This podcast contains explicit and potentially offensive material. You've been warned. Now buckle up, bitches. Let's go.
Listen up here. The restaurant industry is grueling and unpredictable, just like this show, from the front of the house to the back of the house and all in between. We will turn up the heat, you turn up the volume. I'm Chef Antonio Caruana. Welcome to the Tell All Podcast, The Burnt Hands Perspective. All right, Chef Thomas Melvin, thank you for being here with us. We are here at Burnt Hands Perspective has come back to Indy. We had to come back to Indy because Indy brought us so much friggin' joy, and we had this opportunity to come back. The ACF brought us back here, actually. Your restaurant brought us back here, meeting you the initial time. We had a very short conversation, as most chefs do. So here it is. This is what I do. And we spoke about this earlier. So the fun part is we go into another city. Of course, it's a chef podcast or a restaurant industry podcast. So what I do first as a chef, whether I'm coming here or not, right? I'm looking for, where the hell am I going to go eat? Bottom line, I will base a whole vacation around where I'm going to go eat, right?
Yes, I'm trying to train my family to do the same thing.
So
when I travel solo, it's easy, but like
yeah,
when you
dude.
have other
But
people.
so for real, like if I go to Jamaica, for instance,
Yeah.
I don't know nothing about really what's going on in Jamaica. There could be rock climbing, zip lining. Cool, we'll figure all that out.
Yeah.
First, we gotta know where to eat.
Yeah.
Usually, it's people go, let's go rock climbing, zip lining, and maybe we'll find a restaurant. Nah, is that how you are too as a chef?
I am exactly like that.
Cool.
We took a vacation to St. Martin with a group of friends, right? And I got kind of some flack because I was doing just that. They were like, "Stop trying to look at our next meal. We haven't even eaten breakfast yet." I'm
Yes,
like, no.
that's the way, man. You got some Italian in you, I think, somewhere along the line.
Irish German.
Okay, well, there's Italian in there somewhere. I don't care what anybody says. So you have the eating habits of that. So I'm always looking for the next meal before. So okay, I got breakfast was situated yesterday. Now breakfast, I'm going to take my time and think about lunch, right?
Right.
So you have a tremendous history behind you. You've worked at some of the best places, opened some of the best places. One of the chop houses, the Prime Saga, right?
Yeah.
How big is that chain? How big is that? I don't even call that a chain. That network. How big is that network?
So that was an interesting time of my career. I joined what originally was Mo's, a place for steaks, based out of Milwaukee.
Okay.
They opened a location in Indy. I came aboard in the location in Indy. My time in Milwaukee has now been, and I thought about this the other day, it's been now probably 15 years since I've been there.
Okay, good.
I love the city.
So a lot
Have
has
you spent
changed.
a lot of time in Milwaukee?
No, I have not spent any.
You need to go to
So I have an
Milwaukee.
employee that works for me, Patrick. What's up, Patrick? Big shout out. He's actually standing in as a manager tonight while I'm here doing this, so that's working out well.
Thank you, Patrick.
But he worked into he's always telling me about the Milwaukee scene, and I guess there's a good little Italian scene there as well. However, carry on. So you go back to the Milwaukee days.
So joined this group. The original owner branched out, opened a location in Indy in a beautiful building, old building that was a majestic building, built in 1898.
Okay.
A lot of history. It was the old oxygen company. Anyway, opened it, beautiful restaurant. Like, it was exciting. I had just separated from somewhere else and took the opportunity. And when I did, I took it and I ran. And I was given opportunity to either fail or succeed.
Where were you in your career at this point?
So I had just left a chef de cuisine position at a hotel.
Okay.
And so I came over, and they didn't think I could do it because it was, I mean, it's steakhouse. We all in with our private rooms and everything. I mean, we're talking 275, 350 seats, so it's
At
not,
a clip.
Yeah.
Per sitting.
Yeah.
Per serving.
Yeah. So it's not a small thing, right? So they didn't know if I could do it.
Sure.
I had to prove myself. But like I said,
And what was the fare? Was that steaks or was that just kind of Americana?
yeah. No, it was steakhouse.
Okay.
Classic steakhouse.
Wow. So now you're changing, for all you watching, those who know and don't know, you're changing the whole game right now. You're talking about 250 steaks.
Oh, yeah.
We're not talking about 250
On-
Alfredos or some nonsense.
On an open air grill. This is old school.
How big was this grill, man?
It was 12 feet.
12-foot grill.
12-foot open air grill. Not the deck grills we have now. That I'm not saying they're easy. I'm not saying they're
No,
easy,
but they are a little bit more concentrated, so it works.
Yeah. So it was my individuals, and a lot of times I would put myself on grill to when we, on Big Ten, and things like that come into town. Super Bowl when it was
Sure.
there,
Yeah. Crazy
you
time.
have to, but
So-
it was a skill that
On an open air 12-foot grill, you're working 4 different temperatures, which means your flames are at 4 different areas.
Okay, what about medium rare plus?
Yeah, right, all that. Yeah. So we'll get to that in a minute. So if we have, let's say you have 12 feet, you have all these. How many people are on the grill working? How many men and women are working? Two. So now
two on the busiest night. 2 when we're triple sold out, and if it's a normal night, 1.
So are you splitting the grill in half with your temperatures? You got your mediums, your medium rares, or are you just running it all one temp?
No, you section it off, and because when you are crazy busy, you have to know that, okay, anything that's over here, whether it be a ribeye, whether it be a strip,
Sure.
whatever it is,
Whatever it is, yeah.
that's my mid rares.
Right.
That's my mid rares. Let's watch them.
Yeah.
Because if you're just throwing everything on there,
And at this point, you're not thermometering, you're touching, you're going off touch.
Yeah.
Everything's just going for it.
There's no thermometer.
And how many are coming back?
Not a lot.
Good.
Not a lot.
Okay, so that's cool. That's good. That's good content right there.
Every once in a while. But for let's say 100 steaks, maybe 2.
Okay, now what you're cooking. This is interesting. I'm liking this already, bro, because what you're cooking now and what we'll get into later here in the show here, completely different, and definitely not from the same mold.
Oh no.
So not even from the same mold. So let's go. Keep going.
No, but I don't want to discount it, right?
No, you can't.
That time,
right?
So I spent 8 years of my career, my life, with fine dining steakhouses. Through that, I opened multiple venues. We eventually took over the one in Milwaukee. So we had Milwaukee, we had Indianapolis, we opened one in Carmel, Indiana, which is where you're at right now.
And this was still the Moe's name.
So there was a transitional time of when we were growing that it went from Moe's to Prime.
Gotcha. Okay, that's what I want to know.
So, but it's the same entity, new ownership kind of deal,
sure.
Right? And then we started branching out.
Gotcha.
Opening new ones.
Gotcha. Yep.
Went to Cincinnati as well.
Cool.
And I was overseeing all of that and trying to find, chefs to run them all.
At this time, were you married, kids, or anything like that?
I was with my wife.
Okay.
We were not married at that time.
So she stuck to it. Good.
She stuck. I am blessed. I
Yeah,
am blessed. I found the woman that is for me. She
cool.
stuck with me and all that.
That's good.
But no kids at the time. So that's probably what saved us being together, because we had kids. It would have been really tough.
It changes everything.
Yeah, there were times when I would wake up in Milwaukee, right? I had a place in Milwaukee that when I'd oversee that. So I'd wake up there, I'd drive down, hit up Carmel, check in, go to Indy, check in, end my day in Cincinnati. And that was my day, you know? And so, it was a lot. It was a lot. And so, like I said, I'm blessed that she was there with me the whole way and stuck through it, because it's not easy. But did that for 8 years in my career, and it was great. But it's different. It's different, and it taught me a lot about the business. Right. Because at that point, it's a fine dining steakhouse. You're not changing the menu every week.
Right.
And so you're fine tuning things.
And there's a numbers game involved big time because it's a steakhouse. Proteins are much more expensive. There's a lot less room for loss on all levels. Yep. Everything's higher end, whether they like it or not. Your wines are bigger. Your linens bills are crazy. Everything about it is another level of learning, because it's more corporate mindset to keep them numbers in check.
Absolutely. Even the sourcing the meats, right? Because we want the best of the best. So it's like, but also we're running a business and we want to get the best price we can. So it's like developing those deals and locking those in, and knowing that we're going to have quality product for our guests.
Sure.
Not,
And with all that in that whole network, you need an abundance of it to stay consistent.
Oh yeah.
To make sure this one is like this one and that one's like this one.
And this is also, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're not.
But it's a time when we cut all of our own steaks. We weren't buying packaged.
Sure, you had a bone saw in the kitchen.
We were cutting everything.
Sure.
So we had storage. We had to have storage for all of it, and we aged on site. Like, there was a spec that all of the ranchers knew, and when they would butcher it, like, here's a spec, age it this much. But then when we got it, we also wet aged it.
Sure. So a normal cut. So you're gonna cut your ribs up or your strip or whatever, and you're gonna leave your whole strip. You're gonna age that. Typically, where you had an age in walk-in, were you talking 20 days, 22 days before you got into them, or something on the wet age?
at the time, it was 31 to 35 days is what I expect all our chefs to
On the
try
wet
to-
age.
Yeah.
And
to try
did
to
you
hit
do
it.
dry aging back then? Or was
Dry
that
aging, I sourced somebody else to do it because a dry aging room is a whole
that's
nother
crazy.
beast.
It's another, you need another mechanic for that.
Yeah.
I'm going through that now. I source mine. I source the beef and the dry ager and all that. But it's important to do it right.
Yeah,
And I don't
absolutely.
think we can consistently do it right while we're putting out the product because you're either a dry ager by profession or you're the one who cooks it. It's hard to do both, you know?
It is hard to do both.
It's a good collaboration and a good team effort.
Yeah, yeah.
So you're at Prime 47, which is a big thing. We've been there, and you went from that. So you helped with that growth in 8 years.
Yeah.
So you're responsible for what most people in this area consider part of their life. Really? Because we.
I'm kind of torn on that, right? There's some people that are still tied to Prime that I love. They're great people, and I'll do anything for them. You know, they're like family.
Sure.
But also, as you probably know, with restaurants that you've been a part of, and then you separate, sometimes it pains you, right, to see sometimes the direction of some of the locations and how they go.
It happens.
You know,
It happens.
not everybody holds themselves to excellence, and sometimes that hurts. But,
Yeah. No, I can get it. I won't even go there, but I totally understand what you're saying. It happens in my own restaurants now that if a dish goes out wrong and if I'm cooking in one and at the other one I get a complaint, but there's only so much we can do. I mean, life is life and reality is reality.
Yeah.
At some point in time, now you're at Vita, which is a totally different ball game, a totally different. I would consider that we can get into that because you have recognition from James Beard a couple of times.
Yeah, 22 and 24.
Semifinalist or finalist?
Semifinalist. Yeah, I wasn't able to win the whole thing. Maybe next year.
Maybe, but you know what? If you keep going with consistency, that's only a matter of time. Because I went to your restaurant. Now I travel the world. I travel looking for multiple things. A lot of them is everything from the Michelin style of the molecular cooking, which really isn't my forte as far as cooking for sure. And it's not my forte in cooking because it's not really my forte in eating either. And I cannot just connect with the passion. Now, I do, however, go once a year to Italy and work with a couple of Michelin friends so I can stay relevant in the knowledge of it.
Sure.
I don't want to make a false accusation that I just don't like it. It's not that I don't like it. It just doesn't get into my soul, right?
I follow, yeah.
I think Beard, myself, judges on a much more close to home system of my style of cooking or my style of restaurateuring, which is more passionate, more organic, and maybe that's because it's an American system, right? But it is an amazing system, and I can relate to it more. So when I see James Beard semifinalist or finalist or awardees or whatever, I have I'm much more excited about that. You see what I'm saying? Michelin is Michelin. That's cool. It's great, but it's almost out of my realm because it's not in my wheelhouse of interest.
Yeah.
Deep down inside, when I eat that style of food, it's fun, but it's not in me, right?
Sure.
Don't know. That's just me. So go ahead, be mad at me all you like. That's just the way it is.
I think with anything though, like even the Michelin level, like there's levels to that, and I think some of them can resonate, and other ones just feel a different way.
Sure. The artists and the chefs who are doing it, I have nothing but respect for.
Right.
They are literally doing their damn thing to that level, and that's amazing to me because they're following their passion just like I am mine, and you are yours. So kudos to them. And like I say, I'm not telling you I dislike it at all. I just know where my passions lie when I sit down and eat a plate of food. That's just what moves me. Now, why am I saying this? I went to your restaurant with the level of expectation of what I read. I followed you a little bit before I went, meaning I looked into your thing just because I'm not because I'm trying to judge, but I'm interested now. Mm-hmm. Oh wow, look at this. Oh wow, look at this. Huh, this is interesting. Cool. Wow, this might be pretty good. Yeah. You know, well, it was well above good. I mean, you did a really nice job. There was something, and I'm having a brain fart right now because I need to think, and that's usually what happens. But there was something you did with the most simple thing, small, that put
So, and I wish I could pinpoint it for you.
Me too.
I've changed the menu probably no less than 30 times since you've been
right.
there.
Of course.
So,
it was just a detail. It was just a detail that most people wouldn't have noticed. And I don't know if it was crisped.
I love
no,
that it was a detail.
It was a leak. It was a simple friggin' leak.
Okay.
It was just
okay. Yes, that was when we had the scallop dish on the menu.
Yes, it was just a simple leek, man. But the way it was just crisp, perfectly and salted, and it worked the way it worked with the textures and everything. I said, this freaking dude gets it. She was there. We were eating. It was like, oh my god, I'm stoked. This is great because you get it along the lines of how I like things, and it wouldn't normally belong, and if it did, you're like, but when it just was perfect. So 8 years of that corporate mindset of and I'm saying corporate because at some point when you're going through those things, it does become corporate in a sense, right?
Yeah,
it has to.
It has that feeling for sure.
You have to have
it taught me a lot about the business of
right,
it, right? But
right.
What it did, and I didn't realize it, and I think I know where you're going with this, is those 8 years kind of atrophied my chef creativity.
Yes, right. That's kind of where I'm going. So where in the hell did you come up with, during those 8 years, were you thinking of, man, I wish I could do this? Were you playing at home? Were you sampling? When did you say, okay, I'm really good at going down this road now, and I'm going to try it? You know what I mean? At 8 years, you're not touching a piece of hake, right?
I always cook at home. Like, I cook every meal at home. I still do. You know, the chefs that I hear of that they say that they never cook at home, I don't understand it. It doesn't resonate with me. It's like, I just like to cook. So, like, of course I cook at home, and that's where I would be more creative with in the food I was preparing for my friends, for my family, for my now wife. But it wasn't to the level of me thinking about food the way I do now. And I didn't realize that it was happening when I was doing it, because I was just living, right? We're all just living. And I separated from the steakhouse because of one thing or another. It was time to go. I called up, you know, I had met the owner of my restaurant now one time. He came into the restaurant and he sat at the bar, and one of my bartenders was like, yeah, this is Mike Cunningham. You should meet him.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, yeah, how you doing, sir? Really nice guy. But that was basically it, you know, and he gave me his card and he was on his way.
Sure.
And so when I knew it was time that something's going to change, I gave him a shout, and he was like, hey, I'm going to put you in touch with somebody. And I started talking to, you know, the COO, and long story short, you know, joined the group that I'm with now, and got into a restaurant that almost didn't, because when I was first talking to Cunningham Restaurant Group, I went through a stage and went through an interview process, and it was a month or two long. It was a long process, right? And kept talking about this one location that they had, that they were trying to fill. They were trying to backfill a position for a chef that they had in this one location that was kind of like fine dining casual, right? My fine dining background, that's why they were trying to push me into it. And, I just wasn't feeling it.
Right.
I spent time in there.
So this is not Vita. You're talking about a different position.
No. Vita wasn't even open at the time.
Okay, so fine dining. You're talking the white tablecloth, the steps of service,
the
crummers, the whole deal of fine dining.
Yeah.
Typically, the what type of food was on this menu? I can only imagine.
It was new American, contemporary American, whatever you want to call it.
Sure.
It was trying to push the envelope a little bit, but still. I don't know. I mean, I think they would have gave me carte blanche to change the menu too.
Right.
But I just wasn't feeling that restaurant, but I knew they were developing a different concept.
Right.
And the concept they were developing was what is now Union 50. So it's an old Union Hall that they turned into just an exciting place. It's basically a gastropub, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
So casual. It's a gastropub. They had a stage in there, live bands, huge bar, and at the time of my life, I think because I wanted to separate myself from fine dining, maybe because I'd been doing it for so long, I was like, that's exciting to me. Like, if I don't, and I told him after the interview, I was like, you know, I don't want to waste anybody's time. And so thank you. It was a very nice process, but I just don't think I'm interested. Like,
you vetted them. It actually flipped around, and they staged for you in a sense.
Kind of, yeah. And I said, you know, if we're talking about Union 50, like that might be a different story. And they're like, whoa. You'd be interested in Union 50? I was like, yeah, that seems really cool. Like, that seems really cool. Like, if I'm not going to join you guys in something like that, then I might just go do that myself.
Sure.
And I'll be your competition.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, let's talk. And so as long as I ended up at Union 50, ran that for a couple years, you know, got some notoriety with that too. It was exciting. It was
Did you have more freedom with that menu?
Oh, yeah.
And that's where you kind of created your style that you carried over to Vita.
Yeah.
So when they opened Vita, fast forward.
So I was at Union 50, and 2016, they opened Vita as originally Vita was supposed to be a test kitchen for our corporate executive chef to develop dishes for the other concepts that are within the group of Cunningham Restaurant Group.
Sure,
right?
That must be nice. I need a test kitchen.
Right.
My test kitchen is my kitchen.
Well, when they were developing it, it quickly turned into, well, if we add on to this side, we could just host like some parties. You guys do some parties, get some revenue in this place.
Yeah, and plus you get the feedback from the food.
Right. It makes sense, right?
Sure,
In a business standpoint.
Yeah, of course.
Well, and then it turned into this and that and the other, and then it was just a restaurant.
Uh-huh.
And when it became just a restaurant, then we had a very talented local chef, Leighton Roberts. He was the original chef of Vita when it was open. I tell him, and I tell a lot of people, I think that it was built for him.
Right.
You know, and it was built. He ran it for a year, basically. I was at Union 50. He was at Vita, which is just down the street, really. I would go check in with him and touch base with him. And one thing led to another, whether it be Leighton kind of wanting to, I mean, Vita's a beast, and it's all-consuming, right? So I don't know if he just didn't want to be that consumed, or if, Mike Cunningham and Carl wanted to utilize him in a different way. Anyway, they approached me like, hey, would you be interested in taking over Vita? And at first I was like, no, it's Leighton's, like that's his stuff, and I'm happy where I'm at.
Sure.
But then I thought about it, and because of that kind of rejuvenated creativity, like I was like, you know what? Yeah. First I had a conversation with Leighton, and he basically told me, he was like,
Was he on the way out already, or he didn't know he was?
He knew.
Okay.
He knew, and he said, and I don't know, he could have just been blowing smoke, but he was like, man, he's like, there's only one person in the city that I would turn this over to, and you're it.
Well, I wouldn't argue with him.
And he was like, so he's like, if you don't want to do it, then we're not doing it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well,
I don't know anyone else in the city, really. I only met a couple of people here, and I've only eaten a couple of other people's food. However, I don't need to eat their food to realize, because I've been to Vita. And I realized when I went to Vita and I sat there and ate and realized, and you came out and everything else, there's no other person that could do it, because it was the way it was supposed to be. Everything fit. The glove fit, and that's because of what you did. So I don't think anybody else, I don't think I'd be sitting here right now if there was someone else there, because there's something about it. You can feel there's something about it, a personal passion in there,
Oh, there's definitely passion. There's definitely passion.
It has to be. It has to be.
There is.
I noticed a couple things, not to beat this whole thing up too long. We can talk another subject, but
yeah.
I noticed little things. Of course, it's my profession and everything else. I did the same thing. It even seemed like either out of design or out of habit, even your wait staff and your servers, assistants, and everybody else they're walking in clockwork.
Yep.
Clockwise format around. They're not crossing each other. Everyone's doing a job in a circular motion, which is very, not a lot of people would notice that. But the ones who do notice
Thank you for noticing.
Yeah, definitely.
Because all of that takes so much work.
It takes practice, and you got to crack that
whip. As you know.
And I do the same thing. So it's noticeable because when we practice it, and it's rewarding to see other people doing it, but more importantly, see our own people doing it. And the ones who don't realize it, they just don't realize it, but they keep coming back because of it. So it's a mystique it's a missing mystique, Yeah. Well done on that, man. I'm honored to be here talking to you about it. So what do you think now that we're here and we're kind of running on time, what do you think about, we're here now at an ACF event, American Culinary Federation, right? Mm-hmm. What do you think about that? I'm here because I totally support it. I've also been up against it, not with them, but with other chefs in the industry who don't really understand it. This new guard of young chefs coming in who think they don't have to answer to anybody. And I don't mean that in an insulting way. They put it in an insulting way. I'm just repeating what is obvious, right? Yeah. So I'm not calling them out. It's just that their actions speak louder than words. And when this new guard thinks that they're just going to get through until they get rewarded or awarded or something, what happened to the whole buildup, right? So as far as the ACF, and this is far from advertising for them, but we're both here for the same reason, right? And that's in support of it. What do you feel about it now? I mean, it took years for you as it did me to kind of get it, or something you always believed in, or what?
The ACF, for me personally, I was fairly invested in it a long time ago. I worked for a couple chefs that pushed me in the direction of actually doing this, right? And they were very much so involved in the ACF. And so I had it on my agenda that I was going to get certification, and I went to competitions and things like that, and it was in my zeitgeist, right? Then one thing led to another, taking a different job, getting engrossed in doing things. It kind of just fell off. I've always been aware of it, but for me, like I didn't stay up on being active with it, right?
But it's hard because the style of cooking you and I do, we have to be so focused on it. It's hard for us to break away, to bring ourselves in all the other facets of the industry.
Yeah.
We don't ignore it. We're aware of it.
Right.
We just don't have time to go on it. Other people, though, I'm talking about, aren't even putting themselves to be aware of it.
I would agree. And I think it's an important thing that that if I can help, you can help, any of us can help the ACF to get younger generation involved in it. That's important. That's,
of course.
It's something that no matter what you're doing, you have to respect what came before you, right?
Absolutely. So the traditions are what it's all about, man. Look, people were cooking when they figured out heat made food form. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It goes way beyond us, and the culinary world is way beyond us. There's so many freaking fingers in it and facets to it that you have to respect all of them to really get a good grasp on what you're doing. Everybody can cook. Anybody can cook good and put it on a plate and have your buddy like it and all that stuff, and enough customers to come in and like it. Cool, but if you don't understand the whole thing, do you really truly have the total respect for the restaurant industry to give to the customers that are really giving to you, or is it a smoke show? Just because you can make, like I said earlier, a piece of hake or a piece of halibut, or you can really take a U8 scallop and really just get a complete perfect sear on it and reduce something along with it and puree something out. Okay, you can do that, but how often can you do that without understanding the rest of the industry to make people keep coming in? You know what I mean?
Yes, and for me too, why I would like to see some of the younger generation and even my staff like get involved in it is because I mentioned there was a couple chefs early in my career, right, that were tied to the ACF and involved in it, and they kind of pushed me in that direction. Well, I took a job somewhere else, and I separated from those chefs, right? I still have great respect for those chefs, but I separated from them, and then it was a different world that I never really had a mentor, right? I separated from chefs that were true professional chefs before I could ever get a mentor.
Sure.
And so I had to figure it out on my own, and so I made a whole lot of mistakes, right? That's how you learn. But I think if you can have a mentor, and I think that's what one of the greatest assets of the ACF is and can be, is like providing those mentors for people to not have to, struggle for so long to find their way.
Right.
Like, I mean, I'm just lucky that I'm a hardworking individual that is that's what it is. That stuck with it.
The avenues are there. There's plenty of room for it. People just got to reach out and grab it. But Chef, listen, we got to wrap it up a little bit because we can sit here and talk all night. I'm afraid that we might.
Right.
But let me tell you this. I'm honored that you're here talking to us.
No, thank you.
What you do for the community out here brought me back personally. And I'm a busy guy. That'd be like you leaving your restaurant right now to go see me. It's very hard. So you're one of the reasons why. If you weren't going to be on this show, I would have been really busted up about it. You know what I mean? Because that's when I got your email yesterday. I'm like, no.
Well, so that's very kind of you to say. It's my pleasure to be here.
Yeah,
right. It's an honor.
So
it's an honor to be here. So
go ahead and plug yourself. Where can they find you? They come to Indianapolis. You come to Indianapolis. You're going to come out here. You don't know what to do. You're going to come out for business, whatever it may be.
Well, first off, come to Indianapolis. That's why I stayed in Indiana. I'm born in Indiana. I stayed here. So come to Indianapolis. Experience what we have going on. We have a lot going on. But definitely come see Vita. It's in the Lockerbie neighborhood. It's in the heart of downtown. Well, not the heart, just off the heart of downtown. But it's in the middle of the best neighborhood, Lockerbie neighborhood. Vita, check it out.
Thank you.